So I guess I can share mine first. It's a Palestinian folktale, and it's called Tunjur. I don't know quite how to pronounce it, but it's basically a folktale about right versus wrong.
Oh,
and it's about this little pot who is the child of this woman who like really wanted children, and so this pot like came to life.
Oh.
And one day this pot goes to the market, and he like gets filled with honey, and then he like the lid gets put on, and then he won't open it because he wants the honey, and so then he takes it home to his mom. And then the next day he goes back, and the king takes the pot, and his wife puts the jewels in it. And then again the lid gets put on and he won't open it, so then he goes home, takes it to his mom again, and she gets mad at him and like, okay, you have to take this back. And so then he's going back to the market, but not to take things back, he just wants to see what he can get again.
Oh, jeez.
And the merchant that initially found him, like, so you need to go see the king, you're in trouble. And so the king sees him and he's like, you need to get your just reward. And the pot's like all excited, I get my reward. But he ends up getting filled with goat poop.
Ew.
Yeah, he got filled with goat poop. I don't know where the picture is.
Oh my gosh.
Really yeah. So here he like gets filled with goat poop. Well, they call it muck, but
We know what it is.
and so then he goes home and he's like, Mom, open me. She's like, well, I hope you learned your lesson. And that's the end of the story.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a great book.
I like the pictures.
I felt like there wasn't really any like stereotypes or anything like that. But
This looks like a good book.
That sounds good.
I liked it.
The illustrations look really cool.
They are.
Gerald. Oh, that's so cute. He's like, hey, Mom, look what I got.
But just a few pages. But yeah.
Very
I
cool.
really enjoyed reading it. And I feel like you can use that very easily in a classroom.
Yeah.
Do you want to share my book?
Sure.
Mine is called Same but Different. I really liked it. I liked the cover. It was cute how it was like upside down. I was like, okay, this should be interesting. And then when I was reading it, the illustrations really got me because they were just really like kid friendly. And it was just like all the colors and it just made sense. And it's a story about how this little boy who's white has a pen pal who is African American, and they just kind of talk about what things are going on, like what's the same between them, but still kind of different. So like one of the pages was like, these are my animals, and it was like dogs, cats, and then he sent it to his pen pal and it was like, I have animals too, but they're goats and cows and stuff like that. So I really liked how they were trying to make really like clear connections on how things are definitely the same, but still different. So, but yeah, I really like the pictures. They got me.
Oh, those are so cute.
I just like the colors, and they're very like calming colors. You don't see like bright sticking out anything. And yeah, it was pretty easy read, only a sentence on each page.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
So it's really kid friendly, like first, second grade, and just kind of goes through things that are the same, like how his friend says hello versus how someone else could say hello.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I liked it. And then the end, different but the same. So I like that.
That's really cute and seems to really follow the criteria that we were talking about.
Yeah.
I liked it. It wasn't like stereotypical or anything. It was just like two boys writing to each other about their lives and how different they are, but they're still pretty the same.
It's like they still have pets, but they're still unique because they have
Yeah.
different pets.
Yeah.
One of the other pages was like, I like to climb trees. I like to climb trees too, but my trees look like this. So it was like, okay. And it's cute. The back is like the same letters. Yeah.
That's cute.
And like the very first page of this book is like one of the little boys is holding the front of the book and the other boy is holding the back. So it was like, oh.
Oh, that's so
See,
cute.
like the front of the book and the back of the book.
Oh, that's adorable.
I was like, okay. But yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah.
That's so cute.
Same but different. It is good one. I went through a lot of books to find the one I really liked.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, man.
But yeah.
Okay, guess we'll talk next. So I picked one, it's called Storm Boy. It's a Pacific Pacific Northwest Native American tale. And about this little boy, and he goes out into a storm, and he gets caught in the storm, and let's see, sorry, I just have a little, I haven't read it in a long time, but I remember it. But yeah, so basically he gets caught in the storm, and then he gets saved by these strange people, and like he wakes up and he's in like this big long house, like the long houses of Native Americans, and like they're just really big, and he doesn't know what they are, but he eventually learns that they are killer whales, like spirits of killer whales, and like he learns their culture, and like they dance and they eat like raw fish, and it's just, he learns a lot about them, but then he wants to go home, and so then he goes home, but instead he thinks he's just been gone for a little while, but then when he gets home, it turns out he's been gone for like 3 months or so, and everyone thought he was dead. So yeah, it's like a traditional folk tale.
I've heard that story, but I can't remember where I heard it.
It was, oh, I'm gonna get up that picture. I can even find it.
Sounds interesting.
It was really interesting, yeah, and I was kind of thinking about last week's reading with the criteria for judging multicultural books and everything, and the author does have experience with Native American culture and everything. Like, I think it was saying that he was, or he either lived with or was Pacific Northwest Native American, so that scene I was like, okay, that seems pretty legit. Mm-hmm. And then like the pictures, sorry, I was trying to, I have actually on my phone a picture of the cover.
I've seen it before.
Yeah, it's a really cool cover. It's like this storm going on, and then like this big, huge like totem pole face. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. I was just like, oh my gosh, it looks so like I was thinking kids would be really interested because it looks kind of intimidating. And yeah, here it is, like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a picture of it for the. Wake up, camera. See, look at that. Wow. But yeah, so it's just like I feel like especially around in Bellingham area and just Pacific Northwest, like growing up in school, we had a lot of Native American tales told to us. Like we were also learning about like Raven, like when Raven stole the sun and everything. Oh, yeah. So like I feel like growing up, it's like we had a lot of like learning about Native American culture because it's so relevant around here, especially like with the Lummi Nation just outside of town. But yeah, so that was my little tale that I found, and I did actually bring one of my little graphic novels. I just realized is actually a good example of what not to give to kids to teach multicultural. Because in this, here, I'm gonna hold it up. So this is called Hitalia. It's a graphic novel, a manga. And, yeah, it's kind of racist. Because, like, it's a comedy, but it's, like, where all the countries of the world are personified, like, they're people. And so there's a lot of things about, like, stereotypes. Mm-hmm. Like, we have America always eating burgers and being loud. And then we have, like, France is, like, really flamboyant and everything. So and then, like, China's... Yeah, it's just like a lot of stereotypes in it. So while it's a fun thing to read, like you have to be really aware of the stereotypes and possible racism that could be coming out of that book, especially if you give it to kids, because like it is kind of rated like for more like teen readers. But I know like middle schoolers, like a lot of middle schoolers I've been working with at Shuckson, they really like graphic novels, and especially this one girl, she's really cool, but she really likes manga, so I would almost be a little hesitant to let her read something like that without like screening it first, because it could be teaching some bad stereotypes. So it's just something to keep in mind, because like I saw it And because I'm older and know better, like I was like, oh, that's funny, that's a stereotype. I should, not think about that. But a kid learning about the world, like still new to it, might accidentally, like unintentionally get those stereotypes. So I just saw that as an interesting example.
Sometimes they're not so like obvious. Sometimes they're very subtle.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Like in every, like a lot of books that you read,
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you guys ever see a movie when you were a kid called The Indian in the Cupboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We read the book and then we had to watch the movie.
Yeah, like I always remember the little toy Indian guy. First of all, called Indian, so.
Yeah.
But then, like, when he met the doctor or something like that, and he was like, "How?" I was like, "Oh wow." And then, like in Peter Pan, if you've ever seen that, like the Native Americans in that one, and like how the little kids regard the Native Americans. That was just it was interesting. So anyway, I'm rambling. Gotta get on.
Okay. I guess I can talk about my selection for the jigsaw.
Yeah.
So mine was chapter 7 from the Tunnel book, the children's literature briefly. And it talked about the different categories for picture books.
Oh yeah.
And it talked about like the earlier ones that were available were like alphabet books and counting books, and how if you're like selecting those books, it's important to know that that like the sound that's assigned to that letter is like the more common sound, and that the picture you choose to represent the letter is representative of that sound.
Oh yeah.
And like,
Do you mean like apple? Like a apple?
yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta kind of be careful with
And
what you
that-
have representing a letter, because like there's and and different sounds like that are so
Yeah.
hard to memorize.
And that the picture you're choosing doesn't have more than one correct word. Like they gave the example of quail for Q, but that could also be bird.
Yeah, that's a good
So,
point.
like you don't want to confuse students that way.
Why does bird start with Q?
Yeah.
That's not right.
And then for counting books, pairing that Arabic number like with a set of objects or whatever they are with that same amount.
Like one dot.
Yeah.
That's
They talked about one of the ones that they had was like they would have a big picture with like multiple sets of just like if you had like number 7, they'd have like 7 apples in the tree or 7 birds, or so like students could work on finding those groups of 7.
Okay, so it wasn't just like one thing. Like it's showing that different things can be 7.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Um.
I don't. I just remembered this really good little counting book. It wasn't exactly a counting book, but it was like a number book that I read when I was a little kid, and I've never forgot it. It was how I learned what odd and even numbers were. It was a story called Even Steven and Odd Todd. Yeah, and it's like how one guy loved even numbers, one guy loved odd numbers, and then they like clashed and everything, and they didn't get along, but then they learned that both their types of numbers were good. So that was just a cool little way to learn
That's
it. So.
the next type of book.
Oh, seriously? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Whoa,
Kind
wow.
of, I think.
Transition.
But like also about the counting books is having that concept of 0. So students understand that. But the next is concept books, which is like they focus on a single concept, so like odd and even or something like that. And then if they're like in greater depth, they're called informational books, which I think would kind of be hard to distinguish between sometimes. But generally, informational texts are more text-heavy and packed with more information than a concept book would be. And then there's participation books, which are ones that get students more involved past reading, like the I Spy books. Yeah, touching.
I love the I Spy books.
I don't know if any of you have seen Despicable Me with like the cat puppet thing.
Yeah, and like the unicorn, like where he sticks his nose through it.
Yeah, so like just those interactive
Love those.
books, like pop-up books and things like that.
Oh, those are so fun. I think of like the cloth books. Like I had a little cloth Old MacDonald Had a Farm book when I was a kid. Like you could like crinkle a little plastic and you could lift things up. So.
And then there's the wordless books that have a lot of just illustrations and no words, and they help to students to use that practicing language experience approach, which is like they create their own story and it gets written for them or something, and then they read it.
Oh, that's cool. Like, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of like early graphic novels almost, kind of like what I was reading in the other parts about how there are wordless comics. So
Yeah.
anyway,
But like for those texts to be beneficial for the students, they have to be really detailed drawings and
Oh, I see.
like other than like you can't just have like a dot on the page. So they're like, okay, it's a dot. Like, it has
No,
some detail and like they can like interpret like what's going on in this picture. Then there's predictable books that use repeated language patterns, story patterns, or other.
Dr. Cece?
yeah.
Yeah, like the what is it? Like if you give a mouse a cookie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I give another example that I can't recall off the top of my head, but like just those repetitive things like Bluebird, what do you see, or something like
Yeah,
that.
like Eric Carle books.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like I saw this one in the library a while ago, where the king wouldn't get out of the bathtub, and the little page came out. I was like, "Help! Help! Somebody!" I forgot the exact rhyme, but it was like the king's in the bathtub and he won't come out. What do we do? And it kept on repeating that over and over.
Yeah.
So that was a cute book. Really good
And
illustrations.
it says it's important for that repetition because it kind of invites students into like reading, because it's just that once they learn that, it's
Like
easier to
self-confidence building.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good also for interactive things, like
Mhm.
getting the students involved. Like in one of my class, my 480 class yesterday, my teacher read us Poppleton. You ever heard of Poppleton? And he would have this silly voice for one of the characters, and after a while, because it was kept on being repeated, he'd have us do the voice whenever that came up. So like it was repetitive, so we could kind of guess what the story was going to be like, but then it also got us involved. So those kind of books are good for that.
Yeah. And then there's beginning reader books, which are their texts are well written and easy to read.